One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
George Clooney is calling for President Biden to drop out of the race. He does not think that Democrats can win with him on the ticket. He also expressed major concerns about his mental fitness. What is your reaction to that?
I appreciate hearing Mr. Clooney's opinion, and we'll continue to deal with this within our Democratic family to make sure that we beat Donald Trump and protect democracy in the future.
Do you think people close to President Biden are being honest about his mental state?
His issue is not a one-off cognitive test. His issue is that he's super old. He is an obvious decline from when he ran in 2020 and from when he served as vice president. And no test is going to reverse what we've seen. The reason he's having so much trouble with all this is because he spent his entire career getting used to his own largely fabricated personal narrative being successfully covered up. This is disorienting for him. This is the first time in his life that his personal narrative is not being covered up, either by Democrats or by media looking the other way. This is the first time we've seen on full display the truth of Joe Biden. They have covered this up for so long, and it's a scandal.
Do you believe that him waiting so long to make this decision?
I'm not making any comments in the hallway about the fate of our nation. Okay?
Are you concerned whether or not he can win in November?
I think he can win in November.
Do you believe he should run for re-election?
Am I speaking English to you? I'm not going to be making any statements about any of that right now in the hallway.
Should he, as some people have suggested...
Can you believe she said that? Can you believe that she asked that woman, a black woman, a woman of color, are you speaking English? You understand what I just said to you? That's how nervous these people are getting. Welcome tonight, everybody. As long as my voice holds up, I'm going to be here. We're going to watch this thing. We're going to see it through, see what happens. Let's continue with this.
Just go ahead and take a cognitive test and demand that Donald Trump do the same?
I don't think that'd hurt, to be honest. But at the end of the day,
So you think that he should take a cognitive test?
I don't think it would hurt.
I'm hoping that in addressing the concerns that have been raised, the president's advisors will present data, clear analytics that show the path to success in November.
What I want to hear is how they're going to win the election.
Democrats are practicing avoidance when pressed about the president's chances. Many would not even express what they need to hear in the meeting.
Be an interesting meeting.
But what do you need to hear? Senator Ossoff, what do you need to hear from the advisors today to
the discussion?
What do you need to hear? What do you need to hear?
They're running.
What do you need to
They're running scared. Love it. Absolutely love it.
hear from the advisors today to assure you that President Biden is the right person?
Do these people not realize they work for the American people? That the American people deserve to hear what they have to say about this? And they're running scared.
What do you need to how did you arrive at that decision?
According to two sources, before cabinet meetings that the president attends, cabinet officials will submit their questions and talking points, key talking points and bullet points that they plan to present to the president in these closed-door meetings. This is how one source described it. They said the entire display is kind of an act. They would come and say, hey, the president is going to call on you about 25 minutes in and ask this question, what are the bullet points that you'll respond with?
So, in essence, we have indeed been watching a movie for 3.5 years. A movie. Everything is scripted. Every single thing that Dementia Joe has done for 3.5 years has been completely scripted. And obviously, the media knew about it. The media knew about it. They played along. They acted like there was nothing wrong. And then recently, they say it was a debate, but somebody gave them their marching orders. Somebody said, take him out.
Now, the White House's defense has been that that is standard practice for any administration. They said in a setting like this, you never want the president to be not aware of what is going to be discussed. They want to also just be mindful of the president's time. But we also spoke with sources from the Obama years who said in the cabinet meetings for former President Barack Obama, those were never this meticulously scripted.
Now, that, I think, says everything. Who did she speak to in the Obama administration who gave her that information? How did Obama and Clooney, how did that information that they spoke to each other, how did that get leaked? It's not like Obama called the press and said, hey, listen, I'm going to be talking to George Clooney. You guys might want to check this out. And I'm sure Clooney didn't call the press and say, hey, Obama told me to go ahead and write this op-ed in the New York Times. This is all orchestrated. They have decided now is the time to take Dementia Joe out.
Throughout this week, as House Democrats, we have engaged in a process of talking to each other. Those conversations have been candid, comprehensive, and clear-eyed, and they continue. Until that process has concluded, I'm not going to address what any outside stakeholders may have to say about this matter.
But after President Biden called in for a radio interview, one of these interviews done to kind of quell concerns and show the president was fine and completely on point. After he did that call, the Biden campaign called that station asking them to edit out 2 of his answers.
How did he find that out? Who told Jake Tapper that the Biden administration called the radio station and said, edit the tape? It's bad enough that that one woman got fired for telling everybody that they got the questions in advance, but now we're finding out the other radio interview, they edited the tape.
Civic Media, Wisconsin Progressive Talk Radio Network, acknowledged that staff took out the Biden campaign's suggested edits, deleting 2 answers from the president's July 3rd interview with host Earl Ingram. The first answer is Biden said, quote, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all other presidents combined, and in major positions, cabinet positions. Obviously not an accurate thing to say.
So he got caught in a lie. That's what they're saying. He got caught in a lie. They had to go and do cleanup on aisle 3, change what Dementia Joe said, and fix it. Fix it quick before it hits the airways. And we don't want you guys going public with this until we tell you to go public with it.
Second, when Biden was talking about Trump's past comments about the Central Park 5, And we should note, like, this is a big journalism no-no, editing out an answer because the politician in his campaign didn't like it or he didn't.
Jake Tapper at a loss for words. When's the last time you've seen Jake Tapper at a loss for words? The guy just cannot believe that this radio station went along with it and edited out the tape. Just completely erased what Dementia Joe had said. That's crazy.
They didn't like how he came across. I don't know exactly the reason. We'll find out from the Biden campaign maybe someday.
When you look at the numbers, he's done 36 news conferences to date since he's been in office. That's not as many as his predecessors had done. Trump had done 64 by this point, Obama 72, Bush 82. But he is going to be speaking tomorrow. Yeah. How high do you think the stakes are for that press conference tomorrow?
Look, I don't think we should set the stakes too high.
That's Chris Coons. That's Chris Coons from Delaware, who is Dementia Joe's buddy, his best buddy in the Senate. And he's like, let's not set the bar too high. We're going to keep it down here. We're going to maybe he can, skip over it instead of having to high jump. Basically, if he can stand up for an hour and answer 5 or 6 questions, boom, you did a good job, Joe. Good job.
I think we should be looking at how he's doing at the event today with the AFL-CIO, speaking to, obviously, a supportive group. They endorsed him, but unscripted, no teleprompters. I hope he does well. I expect he'll do well in the press conference tomorrow.
Big boy press conference. Big boy press conference. A big boy press conference. Hold a press conference. A big boy press conference.
Press conference. I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it. The press conference. The big boy press conference. Y'all are planning to have.
Gives his press conference. His big boy press conference.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing that they had to make a joke about it, that they called it the big boy press conference. Then it got a little bit worse. Some people were talking today and on Twitter. I want to show you a couple things. This was from Clay Travis. Clay Travis, you guys know he's on Fox a lot. He's from Outkick. He goes, make no mistake about what is happening. The Democrats are chumming the waters with blood and sending Joe Biden in for a swim. This press conference is going to be a snuff film. They want the media to end him. We've never seen anything like this. And I've never seen anything like this. I was a young boy when the whole Nixon thing happened, so I don't know how it transpired, but I do know they took him out at the knees as well. So most of us have never seen this in our lifetimes. This is absolutely crazy. And then Laura Loomer said this. This is really interesting. This was posted, let me get him down here, at 4:44 p.m. today. Democrat officials are now leaking about the Biden White House ahead of the 6:30 press conference today. Democrats are now blaming Biden's closest advisors for shielding the public from the full extent of Joe Biden's mental decline. The Democrats, meaning House and Senate, they're the ones who are blaming Biden now for keeping it quiet, like they didn't know. Joe Biden hasn't had a full cabinet meeting in 9 months. It hasn't had a full cabinet meeting in 9 months. Wrap your head around that one. Democrats feel like they've been lied to about Biden's condition, and apparently they can't ask questions without submitting them in advance. So they've basically built a cocoon around this guy, and you don't get to see the king unless you go through everybody else first. That's how basically tight they have kept things around him. Joe Biden is president, but he isn't even running the country. How do you go 9 months without a cabinet meeting? Wow, Democrats are all turning on Biden here. In fact, the last full cabinet meeting took place on October 2nd, 2023. Sources also said cabinet meetings during the Obama years, which Biden attended as vice president, were not prescripted in this way. So I brought you forward to today. And let's see, I'm looking on, I just want to make sure I don't miss it when he comes out. This thing was supposed to happen at 5:30. It got pushed back to 6:30. Is it going to happen at 6:30? Who knows? How many questions is he going to take? Who knows? They're like, at least 4. That's not a press conference. If you're only going to take 4 questions, that's really not a press conference. So we're going to see how many he takes and how many he gets through. And then we're going to find out the fallout tomorrow with how much of this stuff is pre-scripted. We understand that he will be bringing notes to the podium. So if he's bringing notes, what is he bringing notes on that these people must know? Have no idea. this could be absolutely a dumpster fire. So that's where I am. Let me take some of this stuff from you. The big guy press conference. Yeah. Dwight, does it come through? Yeah. Nixon never came close to doing the things that Biden is doing. Nope, not even close. For this last hour, they've been pumping him full of Red Bull. Yeah. I'll bring the pitchfork. Who's got the torch? Sup, Barry? How you doing, Chris? And hello to all my fellow other patriotic friends. Yes, thank you for being here. Let's see, what was that? Barry Cunningham. Hey, Tommy, what's going on? Not sure who answers to who here. Obama to Clooney, biggest Dem fundraiser, Clooney to Obama, leader of the party. I guess the guy who writes checks must have a big influence in all this stuff, I would say. This is absolutely crazy. Somebody wrote, and it went through too fast, about the 25th Amendment. Now they're too chicken. If they're not going to call it on him, he's too chicken to do it. None of them, Vice President, none of them are going to call the 25th Amendment. If he has notes, then it's not unscripted. You're right. I'm trying to be as open and unbiased as I possibly can, and saying, I don't want to put this guy in a box. I wouldn't mind if he had some notes, but given what's been happening, it could be somewhat problematic. Hey James, how you doing? Thank you for showing up. He's probably going to have an earpiece in an ear. Excuse me. I don't know. Pretty sure though they're going to be looking at him to see what he's got with him, because it could get that bad. Biden, yeah, I see this. Biden called, where was that? I just missed, oh, here it is. I heard this just as I was coming in, that Biden called Zelensky Putin to his face. Yikes. Absolutely yikes. Did Jill Biden write the notes? Ooh, that's funny. I'm still waiting for a slice of Uncle Posey. He's referring to the cannibal-eaten uncle that went down. Aldrich Oak says, if Biden can't speak without predetermined questions to the press, what the hell does he do in front of foreign heads of state? Holy crap. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Joe will answer all the questions. I don't know, man. I really don't know what to expect. He had a sit-down interview, as you guys all saw, with George, what the hell, Stephanopoulos. And he looked like he was comfortable, but at the same time, he looked like he didn't know what was coming. So I don't know. So excuse me, I'm still trying to get over this cold. So if you see me hit the mute button, it's because I don't want to sneeze in your face. So, oh God, it's tough. Delays because ice cream truck is passing by. Nope. That's another problem I have, is they don't give any answers as to why things happen. If you were going to be out there at 5:30, why did you move it back to 6:30? 72 undefeated. I've been thinking the same thing. All this is planned and we knew it. Nothing goes negative on fake news unless approved by the libtards. So I tend to agree. And as we saw it evolve, there was obviously a button pushed and the hit went out. Take him out. For what benefit? I mean, it's probably the Clinton-Obama machine in the background, but who are they going to bring in? I mean, I'm telling you right now, it has to be Kamala. No ifs, ands, or buts. If they try to jump over Kamala with this stuff that James Carville's been saying, James Carville has said that, basically Obama and Clinton could have a roundtable survivor type meeting and bring people in, and you basically get to pitch the jury so you can tell people what you think you can do, and then they'll vote with the delegates. And if Kamala isn't that person, they're going to have hell to pay. I'm just telling you, they put a DEI hire in there, and if you don't use that DEI hire, if she's not number 2, then you've completely obliterated the entire DEI movement. You, in one fell swoop, will erase the entire aspect of everything DEI related. And you're going to have, plus, women as well. So you're telling me you're going to sit there and just take the eraser to DEI and take the eraser to women because she's a woman of color, whether you want to call her black or whatever. She's a woman of color. She's number 2 right now, and she's only going to be number 1 if he steps away. So she's never going to get voted in. They know that. She's not going to beat Trump in an election. I don't care what poll they look at. There's no possible way she's going to beat Trump in an election. And they know that. So are they going to try and put Pete Buttigieg or Newsom or Whitmer or somebody and jump over her? That would be suicide. Absolute suicide. Is Joe going to jog out on the stage? Well, I've got the... just so you know, this is what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at a feed. Hold on, let me a second. And I should probably play it now just so we can make sure the volume is correct. But this is the feed that's on right now.
Somewhat of a wishy-washy statement. And remember, Chance,
I'm
there's
gonna
nothing stopping
turn that
Democratic
up
leaders in
because I want to
Congress,
make sure you guys can hear when it comes on.
run-of-the-mill Democrats
Hold on,
from
let me
coming out there
turn
and putting
that
out
up.
statements saying they support President Biden, making
All right,
unequivocal
so
statements.
That's the feed.
To that
I'm waiting
effect.
for him to
the
show
fact that we've
up,
seen so much
but
hemming
he's
and hawing, certainly
not on obviously yet. He's still early. It's 6:22, 8 minutes. Is he going to jog out there? I have no idea. How sad is that? What you just wrote here? They only need him to win, then his use is done. Yeah, that's crazy. Save the vote, protect the vote is the thing that Trump is pushing. Right now, Joe is getting his shot. I don't think it's a shot. I think it's a cocktail. I think it's multiple shots that he's probably going to be getting right about now. 2016, Kamala, I'm Indian. 2020, Kamala, I'm black. Yep, exactly. She was Indian, Jamaican is what she had said. Indian and Jamaican. So that's what they said. Is this a vote for Biden? A vote for Biden is indeed a vote for Harris. He's having a quick nap. That after dinner nap he probably took. You know, he probably had dinner early, about 3:30. You know, the elder citizens do. They have that early dinner, and then of course he had to take the siesta afterwards. Yes, Biden is the new useful idiot. I'm sure Hillary would be ready to just take him out. I'm sure she'd have no problem whatsoever. Volume was good. Okay, so we're all set. 6:30 is way past his bedtime. That's absolutely true. Okay, when are they going to stop? Let me get this up. When are they going to stop protecting so they say something that doesn't exist? We are not a democracy. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Always have been, always will be. Don't count on that. See, that's the problem why people have to go out and vote. When we say we always will be and things are absolute. These people want to erase much of what we know as being the absolutes, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. They have no problem taking an eraser to all that stuff. UK press is hammering Biden. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there were 2 hidden camera and 2 hidden mic things that happened. The hidden camera thing, not a hidden, she was in plain view, excuse me, was the Prime Minister of Italy. And she kind of made fun and mocked Joe. And she didn't realize she was on camera. And then the other one was a hidden mic, not hidden, but he didn't see it, was when, okay, I'm looking at my thing spinning in terms of the feed, so I'm just hoping that's ready to go. Pritzker of Illinois, the governor said, what are we going to do? I don't like the way this is going. And they caught him with that as well. I noticed that Biden had long fingernails on his pinky. Hold on one second. I just want to make sure what's going on here because I don't want the speed to go down. All right, so we're good. Excuse me. It used to be required to take civics in high school. Yeah. Back when I did, it wasn't called civics. It was called, we had U.S. history, and then we had world history. We had to take both of those things. Where did you say? Sky Bird Dog says Sky News in Australia has been hammering the left-wing lunacy. I think Sky News is owned by Rupert Murdoch, so they are kind of a right-leaning network, so that works. Can you say dumpster fire? Absolutely. That's the Coke nail. He's talking about his pinky nail being Maloney is wrecking her country as well. Yeah, she's not doing... I thought she was going to be really good, but it doesn't seem like she's doing the right thing. So I'm looking here at 6:26. I would think at this point that they would have cut away and would be showing the stage, but I don't see him on the stage. I don't see the stage set up. I don't see anything. This is weird. This is very weird. But look, it says I'll let you see it. It says Biden to hold his first press conference, but I'm waiting to see what they're doing. We are live. Just sorry to do this, but I'm trying to make sure all these screens are correct. I mean, this is what I'm seeing right now.
Since the debate
and
to
they
take
haven't brought him out there yet. That's just an old press conference. All right. It just says soon. So here we go. Hello from Wyoming. Hello, Phyllis. How are you doing? Democrats' new motto: we have no Clooney. I heard that Michael Douglas today as well decided he was going to cut him off. He didn't want to get involved with it. What do we got here? Have you heard what Dr. Umer has been saying? Yes, where is that? Dr. Umer is I posted that tweet today. I missed it. It's going so fast. Dr. Umar is a guy who I consider him a race baiter, but he came out today and said that the Democrats are wrong. They're taking care of the newcomers instead of black people that have been paying taxes. And he's absolutely right. Just he's late to the party, though. That's just the problem. Thanks, Bird Dog. I'm trying to wait and get through this. I got my cough medicine here, and I'm getting, this is somebody said, but I'm going to work it. Once he starts talking, I don't have to talk. Biden will resign tonight. No way. No. I don't see that happening. During that time when we were all going through that disease stuff, yeah, he did do a press conference every single day. All right, so it's 6:28. I'm looking to see if they, all right. They're saying 20 more minutes. What? No way. No way. 20 more minutes? Have you guys heard that? Wait a minute. Is this it right here? Hold on. No, it just says soon.
That's in 2 minutes.
Nope, not yet. Not yet. I don't want to give them their commercials for free. So I'm waiting for it. Trump did press conferences every single day. Yes, he did. I understand we were under the jab time, so he had to. Wishing Trump takes this country back to 2024. The world needs it. Exactly. Not just America, the world. Gargle with salt water for your throat. But I can't really gargle right now. I'm talking on a microphone. I can't go, but I understand what you're doing. Thank you very much for the advice. I might be Trump's VP pick. I wish. No, I don't wish. I couldn't do that. I could not do that. You're saying I bet he doesn't start mumbling until 7-ish. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you that. That would be absolutely crazy for him to push it back even further. Bill is eating his Joe's eating his ice cream. You guys are funny. I have worried about this. Those of you guys who remember the whole Michael Jackson situation, where they would give him drugs to wake him up and then give him drugs to take him down. And one day, they just went too far down and the guy didn't wake up. because he needed drugs on both sides of. He needed drugs to get up in the morning and get going, and he needed drugs to come down. And your body's just not meant for all that abuse. Paul Shipley says, "Are you still sick?" Yep, I'm still sick. It's just stuck right here. I mean, it's in my nasal cavity, as you can hear. Actually, it gives me a little bit more bass on the microphone. I sound like Barry White. But it's right. It's just right here. It's no fever, no temperature, nothing. Feel fine. It's just in my face. So it could be allergies. Can we do anything at the polls to ensure the newcomers don't vote? Try to be a poll watcher. All right. So it's 6:31. I'm looking. Let me see if I see. If anyone else is covering it here, because this is just really weird. How is it not on? I'm looking at 2 stations here to make sure that this thing isn't playing on a different station. Are you guys seeing it on TV at all? Am I behind? Hold on. Nope, I don't see anybody covering it yet. Everybody just has soon. Nope, just as soon. All right, so just so you guys know, I'm looking at 2 stations. They're saying 30 minutes delay. For some reason, he's not coming out now till 7 o'clock. That is absolutely crazy. For 1 second here, I'm going to put this on so you guys can see it, so I can deal with my nose here. 1 second.
Some other numbers out here. Then 62% of Democrats say they want a different nominee, according to the ABC WAPO poll today. 85% of voters say Biden is too old. Is it possible to change that many minds in under 4 months?
No, and I don't think the Biden campaign can go about this by trying to change minds. And even the campaign early on was pretty open about this idea that we're not trying to convince voters that our candidate is not old. We're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is try to use that as an advantage, as equaling experience, similar almost to what we saw Ronald Reagan do in the early 80s. That has some problems, as we saw 2 weeks ago on the debate stage, when the experience.
I'm sorry, I had to wipe my nose so I didn't turn my mute on. I'm sorry. I should have checked that. I'm sick. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not at full strength. And accordingly, I keep messing up with the buttons down here because I don't want to gross anybody out at the same time. But I'm back on. I'm on. See? Yep, I'm looking. It's on. Everything is on. It's good. So, sorry guys. I'm back on. I see all the, your voice really is gone. Not sure what's taking him. Nobody's given any explanations. We don't know what's causing this. And I'm looking at this screen, and they're saying it's just coming soon. So he was supposed to be up at 6:30, at 5:30, and at 5:30 they pushed him back to 6:30, and now I'm not really sure what's going on at all. This is crazy. Now don't forget, and I should be fine by then, but there's another Trump rally this weekend, Saturday, the 12th. The 12th is tomorrow. There's a Trump rally tomorrow, and I will be doing that by hook or crook because I don't miss any Trump rallies. Let me get you the time real quick here. The tomorrow for the Butler, Pennsylvania at 6:30 on tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? Have you guys checked in on that? Okay, let me just make sure it's not on Sunday. I'm going to check that real quick. Yeah, let me just put this up. The Trump rally will visit Butler, Pennsylvania, and I believe it's Sunday, isn't it? Yeah, Mrs. Biden is on Saturday. We have to figure out what day that is. Anyway, there's a Trump rally in a couple of days, and we'll go ahead and be talking about that. But in any event, we're still waiting for Joe to show up. Nothing yet. He's coming soon. I'm trying to buy some time, trying to talk about some different things. So I just keep talking to you guys. It's fun. As long as my voice holds up, we can do it. Did you see Mick Jagger get booed when he mentioned Trudeau on stage? Yes, I did. He big mistake. You got to know the room, Mick. Got to know what you're doing. That's for sure. The meds kick in again at 8 p.m. The White House just announced he won't be going to bed at that time. Okay, thank you very much, Debbie. He's not on any other channels either. Nope. See, that's one of the problems they have with this administration, and I've had it with them. I don't mean I've had it, but I've had the problem with them is that they call themselves the most transparent administration ever when they actually haven't. They give no explanations why things are happening. Just doesn't go crazy. Coming to a nursing home near you. Probably ain't able to make it. There's no way. There's no. Somebody said what? Can you talk about CNN? Where is this? Can you talk about CNN saying Trump lied about Project 2025? We just uploaded today on YouTube. All right, so Project 2025, which most of the stuff I don't seem to have a problem, and more than likely you wouldn't have a problem with it either. It's a think tank put together by the Heritage Foundation, and these people are all freaking out. They're losing their minds over it, and it's just a couple things in here. The couple things that really bother them. They're really bothered by the fact that he's talking about removing a bunch of the governmental agencies. I don't have a problem with that. I feel that most of them are a waste as well. He's talking about basically going with what the Supreme Court said and putting the baby removal business in the hands of the states. He doesn't want to federalize it. They think he's going to federalize it and make no baby removal across the nation. Supreme Court's already ruled on that. When they took down Roe v. Wade, they made it a state-based decision. Liberals want it to be fine and dandy everywhere. Trump's not going to do that. There isn't a lot of stuff in there that, I heard, you saw my video earlier with Joy Reid said, and Joy Reid said he's going to take away contraception. It drives me crazy. Why am I paying for your contraception? If you want to go and have sex, that's up to you. And if you don't want to keep your legs closed or your thing in your pants, that's on you. Why should I have to pay for your contraception? So that's a losing argument as far as I'm concerned. She talks about the history. They're saying he's going to take away the DEI and the CRT. I'm fine with that. It makes me wonder, how did the rest of us survive in our entire lives without DEI and CRT? How did Joy Reid survive? She went to Harvard. How did she survive without DEI and CRT? She's making a couple million a year at MSNBC. So it makes no sense, because what you're saying by being worried about all this stuff is that no other black people have ever made it before you put all this craziness in effect. When that's not true, because we just had a black president. A black president got to the highest office in the country. A black man got to the highest office in the country, and you're screaming like banshees because you're worried about some stupid ideologies that nobody wants anymore. I don't know if you guys have been following this, but there's been a big push, huge push, to turn the name of the Washington Commanders back to the Washington Redskins. And it's been overwhelmingly, people have voted and said, put the name back to the Redskins. That's the name of that football team. Put it back to the Cleveland Indians. That's the name of that team. Not the Cleveland Guardians, not the Washington Commanders. Go all the way back and start canceling cancel culture. So I think these people are nuts. I think they're just absolutely nuts. All right. Barack wasn't black. Can you share your thoughts on how it would be received by the average person, any political fish, on if the elite Democrats replaced Joe without a vote from the people? Well, they'd have to stop saying end of democracy for Trump when they're ending democracy for their own people. I think that the mere fact that they are talking about taking the vote out of 20 million people that voted for Joe during the primaries, when they all knew the entire time how he was. So now you want to take their votes away and do a round robin survivor-like approach and let certain people pitch their way? I don't think it'll bode well whatsoever. Do you think tonight could be the beginning of the end for Biden? I think the beginning of the end began during a debate. I think tonight he can buy himself some time. I still think he's on a downward... How can I say this? Again, I said this in another video. If you know anyone who has had dementia or Alzheimer's, it's not a recoverable situation. It's not like he broke his arm and he's going to be better. He didn't go skiing and break his leg and he's going to heal. There's only one slope on this. It only goes down. There's nothing to look forward to in terms of improvement. So the end was, the beginning of the end was quite some time ago. It may get accelerated at this point. Just heard some cathedral had a fire. That's over in, I heard earlier, that's another one in France. So, you import the third world, you become the third world, and they burned down Notre Dame, and they've had to rebuild it, and now I think there's another one they just burnt. Now you know that the only Dem that wanted to run in 2020 was Biden. The only person willing to take his VP was Kamala. Worst ticket ever. Yeah, but he got 81 million votes. 81 million, most ever. Yeah, you and I both know about that. Look at Bruce Willis. Yeah, Bruce Willis is hung on quite a bit, but he's not functional as much anymore. It's not going to come back. You have to understand this. Joe Biden at this point has access to the best doctors in the world. And you can't, there's no reversing this. I mean, it's crazy. Where was this one? There was a good one here. Okay. Did you see where the Democrats voted to vote without ID? 198 voted for no ID. No. It wasn't without ID. They voted to allow, I almost said the word, to allow newcomers to vote in our elections. The Republicans wanted to codify it and make a law that you cannot vote in our elections unless you are an American citizen. 198 Democrats said no. We don't want that. No, we can't allow you to make that kind of a law. That's treasonous as far as I'm concerned, and it's proving to everybody what you really had in mind with all these newcomers. Let's see here, 7 p.m. Beware of the Democrats. No, I don't think the Democrats can bypass Kamala. I mean, they can cut some sort of deal where she can go out there with a nice, pretty face and go, yeah, I think it's best if Newsom runs. But I don't think anybody would believe it. Somebody said, no one believes he got 81 million votes. No, of course not. Nobody believes that crap. So I'm checking the feed and still nothing, people. Unless if you guys see something on a television station that you're following, let me know. But I don't see anything yet. Don't see it on anything here. Joe getting paid. That's what I think is being negotiated right now. I think they're going to have to go to him and cut a deal. And that deal is going to have to be something to the effect of, take care of me, take care of Jill, take care of my brother, take care of my grandkids, take care of Hunter, give us all pardons, make sure we never get arrested for anything ever, and give me $100 million for my library, and then, I might go. But then you got to deal with Kamala all over again. Excuse me. Maybe the meds aren't working right. I don't know. Tommy, I have to. Tommy's a moderator here and he wants me to end my channel. He said, Barry, stop calling them newcomers. Call them what they are. I can't. You understand that's a word that's a no-go here. We call them trigger words on YouTube. Check. You can't hear me? Judy, you might have tuned in while I was basically hit the wrong button, but you should be able to hear me right now. And they're going to use yep, exactly. And they're going to use taxpayer dollars to pay them off. You're right. Just so you know, you're going to be paying for the parachute, the golden parachute for Dementia Joe, and you're not even going to get a thank you. Why are there? Joe just introduced. Yeah, I saw that. I call newcomers sick eagles because that they're ill. I like that. Kamala said, what's I say? Kamala said if she renounces, she would get a gated community on Martha's Vineyard, really near the erosion on the beach house. And yes, exactly. It's a no-no here. Certain words you can use, certain ones you can't. When does this robot get on? I don't know. It's supposed to be 5:30, turned into 6:30, and it's now 6:48. Maybe he's not coming. I don't know. I'm checking all kinds of different places to see if you guys see if my feed is behind or something. Say it, Barry. 81 million votes, my donkey. You're right. No, this is Barry. Your energy levels, memory, and speech are pretty good for having a cold. Reason being is I don't know if it's a cold or allergies because I feel fine. My body feels fine, feel strong, everything. So I don't have as much of a brain fog. It's just right here, just right there in terms of, so that's why I thought it was an allergy. Going to the doctor tomorrow. There are 7 stages to dementia. Once you get to the stage where you don't recognize anyone, that's it. If you've ever had a relative or loved one, when you get to that stage, it just completely breaks you inside. Mm-hmm. When you walk in and somebody looks at you and they don't know who you are, that's just awful. Are those comments deleted? Possibly. I don't. But they do. Margot and Nico's head codes are horrible. Yeah. I'm seeing that C-SPAN. I see Gitch here says C-SPAN said 7 p.m. now. So I'm looking at, okay, let me show you the feed here. They show them just now.
Is a question of, we think back to sort of those double haters, and I think a lot of
they're still setting stuff up. You would think you would set stuff up beforehand. We got to look at this. This is crazy. Let me get here so I can put this on. This is nuts.
To be determined.
These people
the
are
biggest
up
threat
here.
that Biden has long had is not necessarily.
These people are up here just setting stuff up instead of him already having that set up. This doesn't make any sense, which means this may be a snuff film. He may be right. Because, oh my God, if you don't even have the stage set up yet.
But in the meantime,
how could you not have the stage ready? Delay. Well, you know what's really funny? He said delayed because Joe wanted to put his big boy pants on. Here's something else too that's going on. This isn't happening at the White House. Why is it not happening at the White House? Hold on. You would think that the president addressing the nation would happen from the White House. I understand he was at the NATO meetings today, but why would you be having this at a convention center down the street instead of having it right at the White House? Doesn't make any sense. we finally beat Medicare. Nothing on. Nope, they're still setting up back there. I've got the feed. It's funny. I think I've got scripts on because they stream really well. And they're just filling it with people talking as well. They probably can't wake him up. I got a cold from watching too many liberal videos. Which basement is it coming from? It's the Washington, what do they call it? The Washington Conference Center, which is where all the NATO stuff is happening. Let's get ready to bumble and stumble, which is weird. Excuse me. Which is weird you say that, because the later in the evening that it gets, the worse for him. So I would think they would have wanted to get him out there early. I don't know what they must be doing at this point. They're not giving any explanation. I keep seeing the feed. They cut over to it and they show what they're doing. They're still setting up flags and stuff, so I don't know. Say no to jabs. Yeah, absolutely. Now I have to miss Wheel of Fortune because Bumbleboy is late again. Wheel of Fortune. I used to love that show. I hope Biden stays in the race. I don't think it's going to make it. I just don't think. Will the 10 questions now become 5 since he's late? I think it's all going to be determined on how the press handles it. Are they going to... I don't know. I can't tell you. This is something off script. We've never seen anything like it. Basically, he's got to come out there and defend his life. And the longer it goes, it says it's 6:53, so 7 minutes he's supposed to walk out there. Mookie is late with the delivery. Yeah, and if this is a sundowners thing, that could be definitely problematic. Chevron deal, electric cars are dead. They're applying the last coat of bronzer to his face. That's pretty funny. Denise Miller is saying they're probably doing it late so he can fail. So you're thinking that this is a submarine job as well. Let me see if anybody on Twitter is saying anything new about what's going on here. I'm looking around. I see people who are he called Putin. Let's see, a couple of guys I know I follow. Let's see if anybody else is saying anything. But if there's Laura Loomer would know. Let me see. Nothing yet. Everybody's looking. Delayed until 7 p.m. is all I can see on Twitter. Let's see here. RNC. I follow the RNC research page. Nope, nobody's saying anything. So we're you know everything I know at this point. 7 minutes time for a scotch and soda. Tip one for me, bud. How entertaining would it be if Creepy Joe... don't wish that on somebody, man. I wouldn't want to wish that on him. We're past his functional hours, Denise. You're absolutely right. Here's a good question. Good statement. I wonder if he's going to last longer than 15 minutes. If he made people wait an hour and a half, and he only goes for 15 minutes, they might as well pack his bags. So that would be, maybe it's time for us to meet the Manchurian candidate, the new and improved Orange Joe. And still, they went to a commercial. I believe this press conference, hold on one second. I believe this press conference is to set up Joe for failure to bring in who they want. It could be. Cha-ching Baxton, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. They are preparing to throw him under the bus setup. I hope you get to feeling better. Yep, I'm going to be doing all right. Thank you for... Wait, here we go. Nope, it's a commercial. I pack his bags for him. Is he answering questions? That's the idea with a press conference. You're supposed to take questions from the press. And if what we've seen in the last week is of any indication, these people are going to be brutal. Is there any audience tonight? No, there's no audience. It's just people from the media. Joe, they want a witch in office. Yeah, if they brought in Kamala, that's what it would be. No, Michelle, I don't think Michelle wants to give up her cushy life to come in. I don't think it. They are freaking out about him introducing Zelensky as President Biden earlier. What law did Gretchen pass? Okay, that's a question about Gretchen Wilmer, and this is horrible what she did. I don't see how it stands appeal to the appellate court or Supreme Court, either one. Gretchen Whitmer signed a law. She didn't put it there. She signed it, which means it went through the Michigan legislature, which says you cannot contest a vote. You can't do it. If the vote is 100% for Biden and 0 for Trump, you're not allowed to contest it. There's no way that can stand. They're putting the probes on his neck and cranking it to 100. All right, so let me see. It's 6:57. They're still running commercials. The Biden mask they ordered to stand in, it doesn't fit. You said it hasn't arrived. Will he resign? No, I don't think he's going to resign. He doesn't have it in him. Yeah, you can't recount votes in Michigan anymore. But I think that'll be overturned. Still watching here. Where is the big boy? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Everybody, and this isn't fair to the networks and stuff who basically have to block their time because they were showing ads and they had other shows to run, and he's just like, oh, it's 5:30. No, it's 6:30. No, it's 7, which means all of their programming gets pushed back, which is just not cool whatsoever. But 7 p.m. is what they're telling us, so that's what it is. That's what we have to deal with. You guys don't find it funny? Where was that? It went by so fast. Somebody asked, is Hunter going to be there tonight? Do you think Hunter is at the White House to protect Joe, or is Joe protecting Hunter? That might be something. The big guy is getting his drugs prospected. Watching from Thailand. Oh, wow, he woke up late. Where was that? Screw the networks, Carla said. F them networks. Who cares? You're right. Navajo, hey, buddy, I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, wait a minute, that went so fast, it went right by. Big boy, did Joe open up a restaurant in the Ukraine? No, they were calling this the Big Boy Press Conference. So now we're at 6:59. I don't know what this guy is doing. I'm checking to see, I'm refreshing to see if there's anything else that's being said. And I'm looking at, they've got people up on the podium. I can show this to you. There's people at the podium that they're checking some stuff out. But they went right to commercial, so it's still not ready. So who knows what the heck is going on at this point. It's supposed to be, I'm just listening to it in the ear, I'm hearing what they're saying. They're saying, indeed, it is supposed to be unscripted questions. Who knows, Biden's family are criminals, Trump is always right. Joe fell asleep on the pooper. That would be, if I'm in the media, when he walks out there, that would be my first question. What the hell are you doing? What happened? You've had me sitting here for 90 minutes. It was supposed to be 5:30. It was 6:30. Now it's 7. Now it's 7 o'clock right now, and your butt's not on the stage. What's going on? Somebody should be out there doing like a pre-show questions. Why isn't Karine Jean-Pierre out there on the podium going, okay, so here's what's going on. We're getting Joe ready. He was delayed in traffic. Say something, because now this just makes it worse. And I'm looking to see, and nothing yet. I really hope he isn't dead. Yikes. They're going to have technical difficulties. Oh, see, that might be something. They're going to have technical difficulties and cancel it all together. Interesting. Interesting. What would you guys think of that if they would just say, hey, listen, we can't do it tonight. Sorry, it can't work. Wow. People will need a bathroom break. Yeah, they've been sitting. I don't know if they've been sitting there since 5:30, but they've been sitting there since 6. Is it true that there are 3 Hunter laptops? I have not heard that. Have not heard that. I do know tonight that Kamala, whatever her name, she's not there. Let's see, Joe is tired. Leave him alone. Let's go, Brandon. I agree. The robot hasn't charged yet. All right, so it's 7:01. Let's see if they're cutting to it yet. Anywhere? Nope. Not seeing anything. Not seeing anything yet. Every station I turn to has got somebody filling it, juggling or doing something, running commercials, because it's not happening yet. They knocked him out. Too much juice this time. Oh wait, let me see. I was looking at it. It says any minute. I don't know. Judge Joe Brown said he saw 3 laptops. How would Judge Joe Brown know that? Joe had to change his pants. But yeah, as you can see here, you guys, if you're watching it wherever, but I'm monitoring it. There's nothing. Bad joke. Too much everything. So let you listen to these guys for a second. What they have to say. Hold on. Let me go ahead and put this on. All right, hold on. Listen.
By what they heard?
Yes and no. I mean, Senate Majority Leader Schumer said that it was a good conversation. But again, we had a number of senators who kind of left saying the exact same things that they said when they walked into that private meeting with some senior Biden administration and campaign officials. Senator Richard Blumenthal, the Democrat from Connecticut. Sorry, it was hot outside today. Senator Richard Blumenthal, the Democrat from Connecticut, walked out of that meeting with Biden campaign officials and pretty much said.
Did he really just say it's hot outside? That was his excuse for blah, 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 blah. Come on, man. Joe Brown is out there briefing his clone. Yeah, so now we're into Twilight Zone area here. Now we're looking at 7:03 with no sign of him showing up yet. That's not finishing up his last meal. I don't know. We can all speculate. Brandon should tell Barry to F off. Dude. Why should I F off? I'm just getting ready for this press conference. I'm not doing anything wrong. Peter Doocy on Fox is saying, wow, if that's true, that's absolutely nuts. 5 or 6 questions at 7:30? No way. I'm looking to see if I can bring Peter Doocy on. Not bring him on, but you know what I mean. See if I can find him someplace. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. This guy's toast, man. Let's just call it, he's toast. There's no way that this guy could be gonna come out here and do 5 or 6 questions at 6:30. I mean 7:30. No way. That would be an embarrassment, and pretty much I would feel like it would seal his doom at that point. I'm seeing if I can pull up Fox on here. So as you can see, or actually you can't see until I click the button. As you can now see,
House correspondent Haley Bull is joining us live from the room where this is going to happen. Haley, this was going to be at 5:30, then 6:30, now 7 p.m., now it's 7:03, so it could happen any minute now. But what are the ground rules? Anybody shoots their hand up, asked anything? What do you expect?
Well, Chance, we are waiting to see how this shakes out, but it is certainly a high-stakes moment for President Biden as he's trying to rally world leaders here at the NATO summit. But in the backdrop of this is trying to move forward from his debate performance that has continued to draw concerns from within his own party. Now, Biden allies we have spoken with have expressed to us that he doesn't need to do great here. He just needs to do well. And one of the things that he has going for him in this moment is that he's coming out of a venue in which he has drawn a lot of confidence and praise for his handling of the NATO alliance, shepherding in its expansion, increased defense spending, and support for Ukraine. But this is not without risks as well, given everything he is saying and how he is saying it is being closely dissected as he tries to still solidify support from Democratic lawmakers and donors. But one former campaign official we spoke with says the greater risk would be to say nothing at all, because that leaves a vacuum to be filled. And so certainly this is a moment as the president tries to turn the page, as we have heard officials say, and quell those concerns. But despite the engagement we have seen from him and the campaign to donors, voters, lawmakers, and other Democratic state officials, he hasn't been able to completely shake that off. And what we...
Whoa. I just noticed something. I don't know if you guys can see it. There are two teleprompters up there. And let me go back to full screen, or after you guys can see it. There are two teleprompters. This was supposed to be unscripted. And I'm seeing teleprompters on either side of the stage. You guys see that? Let me know in the comments. You see those? Right and left. There are two teleprompters. Something ain't right here. Already a problem, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to notice it. This is
the handling of the war in Ukraine.
Look at that. I'm full screen with it right now. You guys can see it as well. This was supposed to be unscripted, live without a net, and I'm looking at a teleprompter on either side of the podium. This wasn't supposed to happen. This isn't supposed to be.
Yet tonight he accidentally called Zelensky.
And we're seeing a teleprompter on either side. So already that's going to be a problem. Already you're going to have people talking about it. Yep, David, this is scripted. It's fake. It's AstroTurf. It's AstroTurf. Be Joyful says, I knew it would never be unscripted. Biden will know the questions and the answers and call on the people. Wow. Teleprompters cited. Yep, there they go. I'm looking at the teleprompters right now. Man, let me keep this on so you guys can see it
forward
yourself.
Despite.
So everything we were told that this was unscripted, live without a net, they lied again. White House, I guess they feel at this point, they're answering the questions themselves. They are letting us know in no uncertain terms, this guy cannot function without the teleprompter. Now, the only thing I could think of is perhaps he's going to come out and make a pre-conference statement. He's going to give some remarks. Yada, 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 yada. Now I'd like to take some questions. And then at that point, those teleprompters either better lower, but you'll know because they'll cut to a center screen and you won't be able to see if the teleprompters are still there. That shot that we had and we were looking at, if you look at right now on television, that shot right there, you won't see once he starts. Once he starts, it's going to be a center screen and we won't know if he's going to be using the teleprompter. Ah, man, it's BS. And I don't know if the other stations are even showing this because some people may think there aren't any teleprompters, but they're sure that shot on the left is all people are going to see. They're going to see a tight shot of him talking, and a lot of people aren't going to realize that there are two teleprompters, just like any other speech that you give that's already scripted. So we're going to see it at this point. It's going to be crazy. What do you expect? The entire campaign has been a lie with media covering up for him. Kind of hard to cover up right now. With every one of us, you guys can see it. Nobody tomorrow can't tell you that there weren't teleprompters there. We're looking right at them. This is being recorded as well, so I'm going to have a picture of it and showing people there were teleprompters on the stage. Why they even brought the teleprompters out there is beyond me. Because what I think is going to happen, he's going to come out and give a statement which he's going to use the teleprompters for, and then he's only going to basically take 5 or 6 questions and leave. Should President Biden step down? That's what I said, 56%. The media should get up and leave. Yeah, they should. Phone a friend, 100. They think we're all stupid. They're counting on people not seeing the pre-show. Like, I doubt CNN, ABC, CNN are showing this angle at this point. You know, they're probably focused directly on the, what do you call it, on the podium, and they're not looking at the side shots. Satisfied with Harris as a nominee among Democrats. 70% of Democrats in an ABC poll last week say they're satisfied with Kamala. But this is a clown show. I did many, many concerts. In my previous life, when I was a young man, I used to run nightclubs and do concerts, and I mean, did some big name concerts. I even worked at Live Aid back when I was a steroid monkey, and I was basically doing security. But you don't set up. You're not plugging stuff in an hour after you're supposed to be on stage. They're still setting up. It's like, hey, sound check. Is this thing on? This should have been done at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, especially when you're talking about the president. He should just be walking out there, and it should be just working. They shouldn't be plugging stuff in and running around and, you know, checking the drums and kicking stuff. This is crazy. It's a crap show all the way around. I wouldn't even run one of my shows this way. And this is the president. Who is this guy on stage, and what's he doing up there? And why is he doing it in front of a full room of reporters and a bunch of eyeballs at 7:15 looking for the president, who is now almost 2 hours behind schedule? This isn't Axl Rose. This is the president of the United States. He should have been on stage. Biden is claiming he got more funding from NATO. Wasn't this Trump's idea? Yeah, it was Trump that created that. Absolutely. The more sensory input to help, the more confused he gets. Yeah, I bet that. Dysfunction junction. Yeah, it's amazing to me that these people are out there running around on stage. Look at this woman. She's pointing. It look like she's counting the flags or something. How is this being done right now? I guarantee you, my wife, if she's got this on in the other room and she's looking at my clock is fast. No, it's 7:13. We're on the East Coast, bud. It's 7:13. This will be told by the media because he's done. Yeah, I mean, all those Democrats want to see him gone. But in any event, you guys saw it. They didn't set up because they never planned on him coming out. It's fake news. Ooh, they're running around plugging in stuff and monitors and everything right now because they didn't think it was going to happen. You're telling me that these people up on stage and trying to make sure the monitor's working, maybe that's going to be excuse. He's going to come out and hit the mic. Oh, this one's not on. Well, they've cleared the stage, so maybe he's getting ready to walk out. Man, this is crazy. You're killing me, Barry. Are those Ukraine flags? No, they're American flags. Maybe they're making a Depends run. This is crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Can we get 10,000 messages tonight? Oh, I know. Last time we did a live video, we did like 7,500. Yeah. Oh, by the way.
Come on, show some love and click that like button.
They forgot to tape the arrows on the stage where Joe is supposed to go. That's too funny. Yeah, really. Well, these guys are trying to talk through it themselves. Walk out. Too funny, man. It looks like they're adding arrows on the stage for him. That's funny. Did they tell? They had the special put out his sippy cup out there. I'm not going to make fun of his sippy cup because I got a sippy cup tonight with my throat. So, Well, so you're trying to gaslight me. You're trying to tell me it's only 6:14. No, it's 7:15 right now. It's going to be bad hurricane season, Trump's fault. Really, clowns running the show. Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely a clown show. If you're having to be plugging in wires and adjusting the flag and plugging in the monitors, checking the cables now, and you guys have been to shows, you've been to concerts. You understand bands get there. Well, not the band. The crew gets there hours and hours and hours before things. I would do a show and doors would open at 8 p.m. and the crew would get there like noon. And they're setting up the instruments and they're doing everything. Then we do sound check around 4, and we go to dinner around 6, and then they'd come back and do the show. Basically the opening act would hit the stage about 8:30, and then like 9:30 the main act would get on. So all this should have been done. It should have been completely taken care of. I don't care if he was at NATO. It didn't matter. Wait a minute. Looks like we got some movement. Okay, what we got going on? So we got some DEI people heading up front. What's going on here? Is that Secret Service out in front of the stage? Not really sure. That's Lloyd Austin, and he's taking his seat there. That was down. The other one was John Kirby. So we're getting close, guys. Here we go. And there's Karine Jean-Pierre. So looks like it is showtime. I'm looking and got Lloyd Austin, Department of Defense Secretary. Karine Jean-Pierre. I'm looking to see if I see Jill. Jill's not in the front row, so she's probably in the backstage area. Not sure who these other people are up front. I don't see any of the other cabinet members. And see some of that woman there is from CBS, so she's getting her camera shot ready to stand up. And let me go ahead and put some sound down here.
Number of CEOs,
hey, Michael,
who are clients of mine also use teleprompters as well.
Can I jump in and real quick just acknowledge that, again, the president could come on stage anytime. We do see Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary.
I already said that. He's saying the same thing I just saw. Never in the history of this modern company. Can't wait for KJP to tell lies why he's late. Anything comes out of her mouth. I mean, I'll have to check back on it. I'll have to circle back with that. Was Jen Psaki. Don't know who these people are walking around. Joe's shoes were untied, so we are about to have showtime. Let me just make sure everything is set. I don't know. Captain JJP is in there. They're putting strings on the puppets. Karine Jean-Pierre Harry reminds me of Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. Is that a disabled parking sticker on the floor? It does look like it doesn't. No, it's the 75th anniversary of NATO. So yes, Miss Campbell, in case you didn't see it earlier, there are teleprompters, which is already a problem. Already people are, I'm looking on Twitter and people are like, what is going on with the teleprompters? Yep, they're up there. They are out there. As plain as day, there are 2 teleprompters right there. So I don't know. I don't know how this guy survives this. And there's the front on shot, so you can see the 2 teleprompters right there as well. Joe is waiting for 10,000 more people. MSNBC has what's it say? MSNBC has 4.5 watching, and Barry has 10,000. I got 10,000. Nice, sweet. Thank you. Hit the button.
Come on, show some love and click that like button.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cheese puff of the United States. It's amazing. This is just a press conference. This isn't a speech. It's not State of the Union. This is supposed to be just a press conference, and everybody in the country is tuning in to see if he's going to be able to make it through. And his first thing we all see is teleprompters. Now, you know what's funny? Who's the person working the teleprompter? because that is the most important person in the administration tonight. Think about that. The person who's running the teleprompter could turn Dementia Joe into Ron Burgundy real quick. Just type in, I'm an idiot. He's going to read it. He's going to read it. I'm an idiot. I don't even know why I'm here. I want some ice cream. They promised me ice cream. That's why I'm here. And he's looking at the two teleprompters. Man, this is crazy. So all the press, those press people you see standing there, they're getting their shots wherever their organization's cameras are. They're getting a long range shot. So as soon as it's over, they can pop up and do their live hit right directly from there. But still, now we're approaching 7:30, so he's about to be a half hour late from his pushback time. So now we're just, this is turning into a prime time event at this point, and nobody knows why. I'm looking again, and people are just wondering what the heck is going on. It's a NATO stage. Yeah, well, it's not a NATO stage. We put it together. We, meaning America. Lloyd Austin looks very nervous, probably thinking how much longer is he going to have a job. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who knows? Looks like a man just turned on the teleprompters. I'm looking, let me leave that up so you guys can see it.
I think he's the best guy for the job.
I want you guys to see everything that's happening. He's going to the Waffle House afterwards. Scripted speech, then to the cue cards. This press, the way they've been feeding on him, will eat him alive if he does that. Hey, Anthony, how you doing, man? Wow, this thing is moving so fast. Put The Simpsons on. There's no excuse for this. None whatsoever. Obama is prepping him. If Obama's prepping him, he's in deep trouble. Wonder if every person will have the exact same. You know how you're going to know if this is really scripted? If he comes out and he calls he's not going to remember the person's name. So he would have to look down and say, I'm Bob Smith from the Associated Press. Because they're all sitting there, and I bet he doesn't know all their names. Why does a press conference need all that? It's like they're setting up a speech. Because, again, we'll see. My belief here, he's going to come. It's almost like he's going to be his own warm-up act. He's going to come out and make a statement, whatever that statement is. I had a great day today at NATO. I'm the man. I'm the best. I'm not going anywhere. Blah, 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 blah. Now I'll take a few questions. And they're probably going to use that as the excuse as why the teleprompters are up there. But just watch his eyes. Because when that person asks him a question, and that person, I don't know how they're going to be able to coordinate that. They look like they're rows deep. Are they going to pass around a microphone? But in any event, someone's going to say, Mr. President, blah, blah, blah. And he's got to be looking at that person. All right, Bob. Yeah, we had a great day. But if he looks over like this at the teleprompter, game over. I don't know how he's going to hear those people from where they're sitting. They're going to have to ask a question and scream up to the stage, or is there going to be somebody running around with a microphone? This is crazy. Where is the gold fringe on a phage? Debbie Gradowski says, I think he's resigning. No. What did Peter Ducey was right there. I missed him. I don't think he's going to resign. Yes, today is 7/11. Exactly. What if he just keeps walking across? Are they going to paint his face or let him come out ghost white? Oh, he's going to be orangey. I guarantee you. They know he can't look pasty at this point. And right now it's at 7:24. So if he's not out in the next 5 minutes, we indeed will be seeing 2-hour delay. Thank you, Rick, very much. Thank you very much for that. KJP was holding a mic, but is she going to run around the audience and put it in front of the reporter? I don't know. I mean, you can do that in the White House, but this looks like a friggin' auditorium. I don't know if you can run around there, because at that point, how would you know who you're calling on? That's a good question there, too. Think about that. How is he going to know who to call on? Since he's since he hasn't given a press conference, a true press conference in quite some time, we're expecting him to walk out and say, Hey, there's Peter Ducey. He probably remembers his name. You. He's just going to point at the person? This could end up being really bad. I bet they made the press turn in questions that they want answered, and Joe was able to choose from those. So now I see that, what's his name? Blinken, Anthony Blinken is now taking his seat, and he's sitting there next to Jake Sullivan, and so all the bigwigs per se are there. They don't look happy. They don't look happy at all. Who knows? What do they want, to shame America? Isn't 7-Eleven gambling? I ask because he's gambling with reality. Yeah, this is the ear implant somebody says mentions. Some of the comments go by so fast. I can't get to them sometimes, but you guys have some really good comments that I try to pick up here. Sending Walter from the Jeff Dunham, the transquiloquist dummy. Biden is getting brain shock therapy. And it's funny because there's going to have to be a question. They won't ask it tonight, but sometime tonight at 11 o'clock or whenever, somebody is going to have to ask, dude, what was going on? Why is this thing delayed 2 hours? And now he's even making the people who are with him wait. They're having to sit in the front row and just try to figure out what the heck is going on. Incoming resignation. 11,000 comments. Whew, way to go, guys. This is making me nervous. If it's making you nervous, imagine how it's making a lot of people around the country feel at this point. This is the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, who was supposed to do an unscripted press conference that they built up because he blew the debate and then he blew George Stephanopoulos' interview, and he's walking out on stage and everybody can see those two teleprompters and they're like, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all. And I'm sure some of these people in the press are feverishly typing. I've been looking at some of the stuff on Twitter. They don't seem to know what's going on either. So I'm almost certain that Brandon will bring up how bad the SAVE Act is, and that it's racist and xenophobic, and that he'll write it when it comes to his desk. He'll veto it when it comes to his desk. I can almost put it in a bingo card. I don't think he's going to, unless he does it as a pre-statement, I don't think anyone's going to bring up that that question to him. He got on the wrong bus tonight. I think he's quitting. Winking, blinking, and nod. Big boy conference. Yeah, this was the big boy conference. I don't know. I can't tell you what's going on here. There's somebody else at the podium right now checking something else. I think they just brought out his notes. He started on CNN. You guys see it started? I'm looking at a couple different things. Let me make sure that I'm not behind with anything here. But my feed is not behind. Let me just make sure. Let me see if I have a bad feed. No, I'm looking at the thing. It looks like the thing I'm on is a minute behind on this feed. So CNN might be live, because I'm looking at the time frame and they're showing it at 6:27. I'm looking at it being 7:27. So you're not going to miss it. He's coming out. Yep, they're all getting ready to stand up at this point. All right, I'm going to go to full screen for a little bit here so you guys can hear it.
Meet the moment. Look where we are today. And what is the question? Can he meet the moment? And he hasn't had a damn solo press conference since November of 2020.
We are about to have that moment. Everybody in the room standing up at the NATO summit. Here is President Joe Biden.
Thank you. Please be seated. Well, good evening. We just concluded this year's NATO summit, and the consensus among the members was it was a great success. It's especially momentous because it represented the 75th year, the most important military defense alliance in the world's history of the world. We should never forget that NATO grew out of the wreckage of World War II. the most destructive war in history. The idea was to create an alliance of free and democratic nations that would commit themselves to a compact of collective defense. Standing together, they knew we'd all be safer. An attack on one would be treated as an attack on all. And it's worked because a would-be aggressor knows if they attack one of us, they'll be attacked by all of us. Sending that message is the best way to deter aggression and prevent wars in the first place. For those who thought NATO's time had passed, they got a rude awakening when Putin invaded Ukraine. Some of the oldest and deepest fears in Europe roared back to life because once again, a murderous madman was on the march. But this time, no one cowered in appeasement, especially the United States. We collected intelligence that Russia was planning to invade Ukraine months before the invasion. I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence be declassified so I could start building an international coalition to oppose the invasion. Then in February, some of you remember, I warned the world that the invasion was imminent. I rallied a coalition of 50 nations from Europe to Asia to help Ukraine defend itself. Many foreign policy experts thought as Putin amassed Russian forces just 100 miles north of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, but Putin thought it was the mother home of Russia. The capital would fall in less than a week. But the Ukrainian people, backed by a coalition to help build, stopped them. Today, Kyiv still stands, and NATO stands stronger than it has ever been. During the week of this summit, several heads of states made it a point in their statements to thank the United States and to thank me personally for all that NATO has achieved. NATO is not only stronger, NATO is bigger because we led the charge to bring in Finland and Sweden into the alliance. And it makes a gigantic difference. Excuse me. Meanwhile, my predecessor has made it clear he has no commitment to NATO. He's made it clear that he would feel no obligation to honor Article 5. He's already told Putin, and I quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." In fact, the day after Putin invaded Ukraine, here's what he said. It was genius. It was wonderful. Some of you forgot that, but that's exactly what he said. But I made it clear a strong NATO is essential to American security. And I believe the obligation of Article 5 is sacred. And I would remind all Americans, Article 5 is invoked only once in NATO's long history, and that was to defend America after 9/11. I made it clear that I will not bow down to Putin. I will not walk away from Ukraine. I will keep NATO strong. That's exactly what we did, and exactly what we'll continue to do. Now, the future of American policy is up to the American people. This is much more than a political question. It's more than that. It's a national security issue. Don't reduce this to the usual testament that people talk about, issues of being a political campaign. It's far too important. It's about the world we live in for decades to come. Every American must ask herself or himself, is the world safer with NATO? Are you safer? Is your family safer? I believe the American people know the answer to all those questions is yes. And I believe the American people understand that America is stronger because of our alliances. I believe the American consensus from Truman to Reagan to me still holds today. America cannot retreat from the world. We must lead the world. We're an indispensable nation, as Madeleine Albright wrote. Now let me turn to three other key issues. Just this morning, we had a great economic report showing inflation is down. Overall prices fell last month. Core inflation is the lowest it's been in 3 years. Prices are falling for cars, appliances, and airfares. Grocery prices have fallen since the start of the year. We're going to keep working to take down corporate greed to bring those prices down further. Meanwhile, Trump's calling for a 10% tariff on everything Americans buy, including food from overseas, vegetables, and other necessities. And economists tell us that would cost the average American working family another $2,500 a year. It's a tax of $2,500 a year. Second, our efforts to secure the border, southern border, is working. After Trump killed the bipartisan effort to secure the border, Republicans and Democrats had worked on, because he thought it would benefit me and make him a loser, Republicans walked away. So I took executive action last month. As a consequence, working with Mexico, border encounters have gone down over 50%. The current level is lower today than when Trump left office. Third, for months, the United States has been working to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, to bring the hostages home, to create a path for peace and stability in the Middle East. 6 weeks ago, I laid out a detailed plan in writing. It was endorsed by the UN Security Council, the G7. That framework is now agreed on by both Israel and Hamas. So I sent my team to the region to hammer out the details. These are difficult, complex issues. There's still gaps to close. We're making progress. The trend is positive, and I'm determined to get this deal done and bring an end to this war, which should end now. Let me conclude where I began. We're the United States of America. We are the indispensable nation. Our leadership matters. Our partnerships matter. This moment matters. We must rise to meet it. With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. Reuters, Jeff Mason.
I thought it was unscripted.
Mr. President, your political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week. Speaker Pelosi made a point of suggesting that your decision on whether to stay in the race was still open. George Clooney and a handful of lawmakers have called on you to step aside. Reuters is reporting tonight that UAW leadership is concerned about your ability to win.
UAW just endorsed me, but go ahead.
Thank you. My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president.
Vice President Trump.
Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving, and because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish. There's so much, we've made so much progress. Think about it. Think about where we are economically relative to the rest of the world. Name me a world leader who wouldn't want to trade places with our economy. We've created over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 1.5 million jobs. So things are moving. We got more to go. Working class people still need help. Corporate greed is still at large. Their prices, the corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. They're coming down. And so I'm optimistic about where things are going. Danny Kemp, AFP.
So it's not unscripted. It's not.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, and the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. And officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing in my leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, here, I mean, Putin, I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. Ooh. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys.
Oh, my God.
The idea, anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is well, anyway. I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time, and find me a world leader who didn't think it was. Next one, Nancy Cordes, CBS.
Oh, this is bad.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned there are instances in history where presidents have faced a challenge, but what makes this moment in history so unique is that it is not your enemies who are calling on you to reconsider your decision to stay in the race. It's your friends, supporters, people who think you've done a great job over the past 4 years. Have you spent time thinking about what it would mean for your legacy, which you've worked decades to build, if you stay in the race, despite the concerns that voters say they have, and you lose to someone who you yourself have argued is unfit to return to the Oval Office?
Well, look, I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started. As you recall, understandably, many of you and many economists thought my initial initiatives that I put forward, can't do that, it's going to cause inflation, things are going to skyrocket, the debt's going to go up. What are you hearing now from mainstream economists? 16 economic Nobel laureates said I've done a hell of a job. That under my plans, they're so far, and what's going to happen in the future if I'm reelected, that things are going to get much better. Our economy is growing. I was determined when I got elected to stop the trickle-down economic theory. That if the wealthy did very well, everybody else would do well. My dad was a well-read, decent guy. I don't remember much trickling down on his kitchen table. Middle-class people and working-class people need help. And so what happened is I decided to was able to implement as president what I believed when I was a senator. And that is that the way to build this economy is from the middle out and the bottom up. That way we grow the economy. And the wealthy still do very well. They do fine. And guess what? Find me an economist, mainstream economist, who said we haven't done well. What have we not done that isn't working right now? And so we got more to do, though. We got to finish the job. And by the way, I come from the corporate state of the world. Delaware has more corporations registered in Delaware than every other state in the nation combined. So? I'm not anti-corporate, but corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. Doubled. It's time things get back in order a little bit. It's time, for example, if I'm reelected, we're going to make sure that rents are kept at 5% increase. Corporate rents for apartments and the like and homes are limited to 5%. We're going to make a lot of changes that I've been talking about because we're going to continue to grow this economy. And by the way, remember how I got so roundly criticized for being so pro-union, not labor, union. Well, guess what? I've been the most pro-union labor president in history. Not a joke. And guess what? We had the Treasury Department do a study. When unions do better, everybody does better. Everybody does better. And we talk about how, for example, remember when we talked about getting the computer chip industry back in the United States? used to be 40% of the industry. We invented the chip. 40% of the industry was in the United States. And former presidents decided that the best way to do it is find the cheapest labor in the world, send the product over there, and import what the product was. And so what did I do? I was told not to go over to Europe, to Asia, including Europe, but Asia. And I remember going to South Korea, convincing them to invest $20 billion in the United States to build computer chip factories. And I asked why when they finally decided to do it. And the answer was because you have the safest economy in the world and you have the best workers in the world. So the whole idea here is we've invested, there's over $50 billion in investment in computer chip manufacturing just coming into being. None of you thought that would happen. None of you thought that would happen. But it's happening. It's happening. And it's going to grow economies. All through, and by the way, red states and blue states. Matter of fact, there's as much in red states as in blue states. I've made no distinction. So my generic point is that the idea that we can't continue to build and grow the economy, make it fair. Like I said, from my standpoint, when the middle class does well, that's when the whole economy grows. The poor have a shot, the wealthy do well. But the wealthy got to start paying their taxes.
As a follow-up, sir, you mentioned that your Vice President Kamala Harris would be ready to serve on day one. Can you elaborate on that? What is it about her attributes and her accomplishments over the last 4 years that make her ready to serve on day one if necessary?
First of all, the way she's handled the issue of freedom of women's bodies to have control over their bodies. Secondly, her ability to handle almost any issue on the board. This was a hell of a prosecutor. She was a first-rate person, and in the Senate she was really good. I wouldn't have picked her unless I thought she was qualified to be president. From the very beginning, I made no bones about that. She is qualified to be president. That's why I picked her. Felicia Schwartz, Financial Times.
Thank you, Mr. President. Presidency is the most straining job in the world, and it's 24/7. How can you say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years, given the limits you've acknowledged that you have today?
The limits I've acknowledged I have?
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true.
Oh.
Look,
not true.
What I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, and if you look at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, my schedule has been full bore.
No, it hasn't.
Where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball? I mean, look, he's done virtually nothing. And I have, I don't know how many, don't hold me to, roughly 20 major events. Someone with thousands of people.
10 to 20 in less than a couple days.
And so I just think it's better. I always have an inclination, whether I was playing sports or doing politics, just to keep going, not stop. I just got to just pace myself a little more. Pace myself. And the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling in just 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, that's what it was about. That's what it was about. And by the way, even with that, I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end.
What the hell?
I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Zeke Miller, Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 questions for you. First, on the NATO summit, President Zelensky, in your meeting with him, he pressed you to lift your limitations on the Ukrainian use of American weapons, saying that, in his public remarks afterwards, saying that Ukraine cannot win the war unless those limitations are lifted. Are you reconsidering your position on that? And then secondly, following up on Felicia's question there, leaders of your own party have said that they're not worried about that debate. They're worried about the next bad night and the bad night after that. How can you reassure the American people that you are up to the task and that there won't be more bad nights at a debate stage or somewhere else?
First thing about Zelensky asking for the ability to strike deep into Russia. We've allowed Zelensky to use American weapons in the near term, in the near or abroad, into Russia. Whether or not he should be attacked. For example, should Zelensky, he's not. If he had the capacity to strike Moscow, strike the Kremlin, would that make sense? It wouldn't. The question is, what's the best use of the weaponry he has, the weaponry we're getting to him? I've gotten him more long-range capacity, as well as defensive capacity. And so our military is where I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people. And we're making a day-to-day basis on what they should how far they should go in. That's a logical thing to do. Second question related to
bad nights, sir. How can you reassure the American people that you won't have more bad nights, whether they be on a debate stage or on some matter of foreign policy?
Well, I tell you what, the best way to assure them is the way I assure myself. And that is, am I getting the job done? Am I getting the job done? Can you name me somebody who's got more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs just last week. So if I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet. None. What do I got here? Merrick, Pulaski Radio.
Thank you, Mr. President. How are you?
I'm well.
The elections in the US have consequences around the world. You have pretty high standing in Europe. I just asked President Macron about you, and he said we are happy to have him as the President of the United States. But there is a concern. Many people in Poland and across Europe are worried that the former president may win the election. And there's a lot of concern that Donald Trump may weaken NATO, stop supporting Ukraine, or push Ukraine to give up territories to Russia.
They're correct.
And yourself was warning just 2 minutes ago about it. So my question is, do you think that Europe will be left on its own if Donald Trump wins the election? And what's your advice to European leaders to prepare for possible US disengagement?
Well, look, I think, how can I say this without sounding too self-serving? I'm not having any of my European allies come up to me and say, Joe, don't run. What I hear them say is, you've got to win. You can't let this guy come forward. It'd be a disaster. It'd be a disaster. I mean, I think he said in one of his rallies, don't hold me to this, recently, where NATO, I just learned about NATO or something to that effect. Foreign policy has never been his strong point. And he seems to have an affinity to people who are authoritarian. That worries, as I tell you from Poland, that worries Europe. That worries Poland. And nobody, including the people of Poland, think that if he wins in Ukraine, he's going to stop in Ukraine. That that's going to be the end of it. And so What I can say is, I think I'm the best qualified person to do the job, to make sure that Ukraine does not fall, that Ukraine succeeds, that the European alliance stays strong. You may recall, no one was talking about Finland joining NATO. I remember talking to Putin right after we got elected in Geneva, and he was talking about what we should do. We couldn't be in Eastern Europe, etc. And I said, you're looking for the Finlandization of Ukraine, as you're going to get the NATOization of Finland. And about 4 weeks later, I got a call. No, that's not true. Probably 5 months later, from the president of Finland, could he come and see me? Because in my office, I invited him to the Oval Office. We sat down and talked. He said he wanted to join NATO. Could I help? And I did. It wasn't automatic. And then I got a call from the Swedes. I beg your pardon? And so Finland joined NATO. 800-mile border is a significant, and they were already allies, but they weren't part of NATO. And you heard, I think you heard, maybe, I can't recall what he said in public in a closed meeting, but he wouldn't mind being repeated. He said, we decided in Finland, the people of Finland decided they had to be part of NATO. It was in our interest because of the joint ability to be together, to dissuade any attack on Finland. And the same thing with Sweden. It took a lot of selling to some folks, particularly in Turkey and other places, to agree to the expansion. But it expanded. And we're a hell of a lot stronger because of it. We're more secure because of it. And by the way, I was able to get 50 other nations, 50, to support Ukraine. 50. We were able to bring about a coalition of Europe and Asia, Japan and South Korea. I just we talked about AUKUS, and we talked about the relationship between Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, the United States. We're making the world safer and stronger because we have to deal with the new arrangement that exists in the world. The Cold War is over. The post-war era is over. What is going to replace it? And I respectfully suggest I have a pretty good idea what that should be. I've convinced a lot of people to follow it, and we're just going to get stronger. David Sanger. Where's that?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Be nice, David.
Mr. President, the NATO declaration that was issued yesterday was very notable because it described China as a decisive enabler of the war in Ukraine for its provision of critical goods to the Russians. That's part of a broader partnership that seems to have cemented in place in the past 2 or 3 years. I think one that you were a little bit doubtful of when we asked you about it some time ago. So I'd be interested to know whether you have a strategy now of trying to interrupt the partnership between China and Russia, and whether or not in a second term you would pursue that, if you could describe that strategy to us. And along the way, could you also tell us whether you think, just to follow up on Felicia's question, that if you were in a room with Vladimir Putin again, the way you were 3 years ago, or with President Xi, that a few years from now you will be able to go negotiate with them, handle them one-on-one?
Well, the first part of the question is, we discussed and I raised in the NATO summit, and others raised, the future of China's involvement, what they're going to do. What they're doing with Russia in terms of accommodating, facilitating them, they're getting access to additional, they're not supplying weapons themselves, they're supplying mechanisms for them to be able to get weapons. And China's position is basically, and I've spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader has, over 90 hours since being vice president all the way through, for real. And by the way, I handed all my notes. But my point is that she believes that China is a large enough market that they can entice any country, including European countries, to invest there in return for commitments from Europe to do A, B, C, or D, or not to do certain things. What's happened is we had a long discussion about what we have to make clear. China has to understand that if they are supplying Russia with information and capacity, along with working with North Korea and others to help Russia in armament, that they're not going to benefit economically as a consequence of that by getting the kind of investment they're looking for. And so, for example, we're in a situation where we've reestablished direct contact with China after that. Remember the balloon, quote unquote, going down, and all of a sudden things came to an end? Well, we set up a new mechanism. There's a direct line between Xi and me, and our military has direct access to one another, and they contact one another when we have problems. The issue is that we have to make sure that Xi understands there's a price to pay for undercutting both the Pacific Basin as well as Europe, and as relates to Russia and dealing with Ukraine. And so for example, if you want to invest in China, as you know this area really well, want to invest in China, you have to have a 51% Chinese owner. You have to make sure that you do by their rules. And you don't have the authority, and you have to provide all access to all the data and information you have. There was a while there, as you recall, the last administration and other administrations, where the access to that market was enticing enough to get companies to come in because they had access to over 1 billion people in the a market, not 1 billion, but a lot of people in the market. And so they were doing it. Sure. But that got curtailed when we started saying we're going to play by the same rules. For example, the idea they don't abide by the international rules related to subsidizing products by the government funding. So guess what? They're not going to be able to export their electric vehicles to the United States without a significant tariff. Others are doing the same thing around the world. But it is a concern. It is a concern that you have both China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, countries that are not necessarily coordinated in the past, looking to figure out how they can have impact.
Interrupt that impact?
Yes, I do, but I'm not prepared to talk about the detail of it in public. And I think you'll see that some of our European friends are going to be curtailing their investment in Russia. In China, as long as China continues to have this indirect help to Russia in terms of being able to help their economy as well as help them in, as a consequence of that, their ability to fight in Ukraine. The other thing that we talked a lot about is that, and I raised it, and I didn't hear any. I can't swear that everyone agreed because not everyone got to talk about it. But we need a new industrial policy in the West. For example, we talked about how both the EU as well as NATO has to be able to begin to build their own munition capacity, has to be able to generate their own capacity to provide for weapons and the ability to. It came as a surprise to some of us how we had fallen behind in the West in terms of the ability to construct new material, new weaponry, new everything from from vehicles to weapon systems. And so one of the things that came out of this was we're going to be meeting again with a number of my colleagues, my European colleagues, is what do we do to increase the capacity of the West, particularly in Europe and Japan, to be able to generate kind of ability to produce their own weapon systems. Not just for themselves, but to be able to generate that. It's the same, that's what Russia's trying to figure out. That they went to China and they didn't get the weapons, but then they went to North Korea. But we're going to be in a position where the West is going to become the industrial base for it to be able to build the ability to have all the defensive weapons that we need. That was a discussion as well.
Mr. President, I'm not sure you answered on whether you would be ready to go deal with Putin and Xi 2 or 3 years from now.
I'm ready to deal with them now and 3 years from now. Look, like I said, I'm dealing with Xi right now and direct contact with him. I have no good reason to talk to Putin right now. There's not much that he is prepared to do in terms of accommodating any change in his behavior. And but there isn't any world leader I'm not prepared to deal with. But I understand the generic point is Putin ready to talk? I'm not ready to talk to Putin unless Putin's ready to change his behavior. And the idea, look, Putin's got a problem. First of all, in this war that he is supposedly have won, and by the way, I think, don't hold me to the exact number, but I think that Russia had 17.3% of Ukraine that they've conquered. Now it's 17.4. I mean, in terms of percentage of territory. They've not been very successful. They've caused horrible damage, loss of life, but they've also lost over 350,000 troops, military, killed or wounded.
Most of America doesn't care about this.
Particularly young people with technical capability, leaving Russia because they see no future there. They've got a problem. But what they do have control of is they are very good at controlling and running the public outcry that relates to how they use mechanisms to communicate with people. They lie like hell to the constituencies. They lie like hell about what's going on. And so the idea that we're going to be able to fundamentally change Russia in the near term is not likely. But one thing for certain, if we allow Russia to succeed in Ukraine, they're not stopping in Ukraine. I recommend, I know you know this because you've written about it, read Putin's speech after they moved in, what it was all about in Kyiv. It wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway, but so I think that I'm prepared to talk to any leader who wants to talk, including if Putin called me and wanted to talk. Last time I talked to Putin was trying to get him to work on an arms control agreement related to nuclear weapons in space. That didn't go very far. So my point is, I'm prepared to talk to anybody, but I don't see any inclination. There is an inclination on the part of the Chinese to keep in contact with me because they're not sure where this all goes. And look what's happened in Asia. We have strengthened the Asian Pacific area more than anyone else has. We just put together with, today I brought on, I asked our NATO allies that we bring on the group from the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. I already mentioned Australia. And I met twice now, I think, with the 14 leaders of the Pacific Island nations. And we've slowed down what's going on there. We've slowed down China's reach. But there's a lot of work to do. This is a moving target, and I don't take it lightly. Assam from NPR.
No more questions about NATO or Ukraine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Asma Khalid with NPR. I have two questions. Earlier, you spoke about the ceasefire plan between Israel and Hamas. We're now looking at 10 months of war, and I'm curious if there's anything that you feel personally you wish you would have done differently over the course of the war. And then secondly, if I may, I wanted to ask you about your presidential campaign. I remember covering your campaign in 2020, and there was a moment where you referred to yourself as a, quote, bridge candidacy, a transition to a younger generation of leaders. I want to understand what changed.
Two things. Let's go back to when you talked about would I have changed anything that's happening with Israel and the Palestinians and the Palestinian movement. The answer is, as you recall, from the very beginning, I went to Israel, but I also got immediate contact with al-Sisi in Egypt. I met with the King of Jordan. I met with most of the Arab leaders to try to get a consensus going as to what had to be done to deal with getting more aid and food and medicine into the Gaza Strip. And we pushed it really hard. And Israel occasionally was less than cooperative, number one. The Israeli War Cabinet, I've been dealing with Israel since Golda Meir. Some of the reporters around here cover me all the time have heard me say this. The first time I met with Golda Meir, I sat across from her at her desk, and her assistant was Rabin sitting next to me. That's how far back I go. I know Israel well, and I support Israel. But this war cabinet is one of the most conservative war cabinets in the history of Israel. And there's no ultimate answer other than a two-state solution here. And so what was able to be done in terms of the plan I put together was it would be a process for a two-state solution. And we get the Arab nations to, particularly from Egypt all the way to Saudi Arabia, to be in a position where they would cooperate in the transition so that they could keep the peace in Gaza without Israeli forces staying in Gaza. The question has been from the beginning, what's the day after in Gaza? And the day after in Gaza has to be, the end of the day after has to be no occupation by Israel on the Gaza Strip, as well as the ability for us to get in and out as rapidly as you can, all that's needed there. I've been disappointed that some of the things that I put forward have not succeeded as well, like the port reattached from Cyprus. I was hopeful that would be more successful. But that's why when I went to Israel immediately after the massacres that occurred at the hands of Hamas, the one thing I said to the Israelis, and I met with the War Cabinet and with Bibi, don't make the same mistake America made after bin Laden. There's no need to occupy anywhere. Go after the people who did the job. You may recall, I still get criticized for it, but I was totally opposed to the occupation and trying to unite Afghanistan. Once we got bin Laden, we should have moved on, because it was not no one's ever going to unite that country. I've been over every inch of that, not every inch, the entirety from the poppy fields all the way to the north. I said, don't make the same mistake we made. Don't think that's what you should be doing, is doubling down. We'll help you find the bad guys, Sinwar and company. And all this criticism about I wouldn't provide when the weapons they needed. I'm not providing them 2,000-pound bombs. They cannot be used in Gaza or any populated area without causing great human tragedy and damage. But remember what happened when you had the attack on Israel with rockets and ballistic missiles. I was able to unite the Arab nations as well as Europe, and nothing happened. Nothing got hurt. It sent an incredible lesson to what was going on from the Middle East. So there's a lot of things, in retrospect, I wish I had been able to convince the Israelis to do. But the bottom line is we have a chance now. It's time to end this war. Doesn't mean walk away from going after Sinwar and Hamas. And if you notice, you know better than most, there is a growing dissatisfaction on the West Bank from the Palestinians about Hamas. Hamas is not popular now. And so there's a lot of moving parts. I just have to keep moving to make sure that we get as much done as we can toward a ceasefire, and get those. And by the way, look at the numbers in Israel. I mean, my numbers are better in Israel than they are here. But then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway,
what?
Bridge candidacy in 2020. You referred to yourself as being a bridge candidate for a younger, fresher generation of Democratic leaders, and I wanted to know what changed.
What changed was the gravity of the situation I inherited in terms of the economy, our foreign policy, and domestic division. And I think, I won't put words in anybody's mouth. Most presidential historians give me credit for having accomplished more than most any president since Johnson and maybe before that to get major pieces of legislation passed. And what I realized was my long time in the Senate had equipped me to have the wisdom on how to deal with the Congress, to get things done. We got more major legislation passed that no one thought would happen. And I want to finish it, to get that finished. If tomorrow, if we had a circumstance where there was a lineup and I hadn't inherited what I did and we just moved things along, anyway, it's going to change.
Anyway.
Last question.
Last question?
Haley Bull, Scripps. Or no, Josh Weingrove, I'm sorry, was the next one. I'll do 2 more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Many of your colleagues, Democrats on the Hill, are watching tonight as they assess what they want to say about your candidacy. I'm wondering how you're thinking of this right now. It seems like your answer is clear, but they're watching how things go tonight, tomorrow in Michigan, next week in Texas and Nevada. Are you thinking that way about how the next week or 2 goes would inform you?
Am I using that way, sir?
Are you thinking that way about how the next 2 weeks go? Will that affect your decision, or are you fully determined on running in November as the party's nominee?
I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I allay fears by let them see me out there. Let me see them out. For the longest time it was, Biden's not prepared to sit with us unscripted. Biden's not prepared to, anyway. And so what I'm doing is, and I've been doing, I think we've done over 20 major events from Wisconsin to North Carolina to demonstrate
Why do you keep saying anyway?
I'm going out in the areas where we think we can win, where we can persuade people to move our way, or people are already there. And here, look, the other thing is we have the most extensive campaign organization of anybody's had in a long, long time. We have well over 1,000 volunteers knocking on doors, making phone calls, making tens of thousands of phone calls. We have headquarters. I forget exactly how many. I don't want to cite a number and then find out I'm off. But we have scores of headquarters in all the toss-up states. We're organized. We're moving, and that's awful hard to replace in the near term. And here's the other thing. I was in the Senate a long time. Very proud of what I've done in the Senate. I was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee for a long time, and I was chairman or ranking member and chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I'm going to be going down to the Johnson Library. I'm going to be going around making the case of the things that I think we have to finish and how we can't afford to lose what we've done or backslide on civil rights, civil liberties, women's rights. That little button we have. Control guns, not girls. I mean, the idea we're sitting around this would come so good as well. We're sitting around. More children are killed by a bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America.
Uh-oh.
What the hell are we doing? What are we doing?
Uh-oh.
We got a candidate saying, promised the NRA, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything. You got a Supreme Court that is what you might call the most conservative court in American history. This is ridiculous. There's so much we can do still. And I'm determined to get it done. It's about freedom. And by the way, I'll end this. Well, I'm not going to do that. Haley has to come up too. But
wow.
I remember I made a speech on democracy in Philadelphia at Independence Hall. And I'm not being critical, just observing. The bulk of the press, what the hell is he talking about that for? Democracy. You did. Democracy's not an issue. Democracy's not an issue. Except the polling data showed 60% of the people knew I was right, thought I was right. I'm not asking you a question. You don't have to answer, obviously. But do you think our democracy is under siege based on this court? Do you think democracy is under siege based on Project 2025?
Oh, boy.
Do you think he means what he says when he says he's going to do away with the civil service, eliminate the Department of Education, make sure, we've never been here before. And that's the other reason why you say hand off to another generation. I've got to finish this job. I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake.
We've had some discussions over the past few days with your press secretary about the question of health exams. And you said you take a cognitive test every day in this job. Are you open to taking another physical or test before the election? Governor Whitmer of Michigan, for instance, said it wouldn't hurt to take a test.
Well, look, two things. One, I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams by a neurologist. In each case, as recently as February. And they say I'm in good shape, okay? Although I do have a little problem with my left foot because it's not as sensitive because I broke my foot and didn't wear the boot. But I'm good. I'm tested every single day about my neurological capacity to do decisions I make every day. You talk to my staff, all of you talk to my staff. Sometimes my staff talks a lot. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think you have them telling you that all of the major ideas we've undertaken haven't been in part initiated by me. I remember when the staff and I said, I'm going to go to South Korea, we're going to get the chip. What are you doing? I'm going to get Japan and Korea back together again after essentially having hostilities toward one another since the end of World War II. I'm going to move and see that we can expand it. You know, the only thing age does is help you with it, creates a little bit of wisdom if you pay attention. And so the point I'm making is, I think it's important that if the neurologist tells me he thinks I need another exam, and by the way, I've laid every bit of the record out. Hadn't a thing. You ought to ask Trump for his, okay? I laid it all out. And every single day I'm surrounded by good docs. If they think there's a problem, I promise you, or even if they don't think it's a problem, they think I should have a neurological exam again, I'll do it. But no one's suggesting that to me now. And I'll ask you another question. No matter what I did, no one's going to be satisfied. Did you have 7 docs? Did you have 2? Who'd you have? Did you do this? How many times did... So I am not opposed if my doctors tell me I should have another neurological exam, I'll do it. But that's where I am. Haley Bull, Scripps.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said you're making decisions on a day-to-day basis when it comes to support for Ukraine. Does that mean you have not closed the door on further considering lifting restrictions for U.S.-made weapons inside Russia? And if I may, your convention is coming up where your delegates are pledged to make you the official nominee. If they have second thoughts, are they free to vote their conscience?
Obviously, they're free to do whatever they want, but I get overwhelming support. Overwhelming support. I won, I forget how many votes I won in the primary. Overwhelming. And so tomorrow, if all of a sudden I show up at the convention, everybody says, we want somebody else, that's the democratic process. It's not going to happen.
Even if that means they vote for someone else?
Sure. Look, I'll end this with this. I served in the Senate a long time. I understand the impetus of candidates running for local office and whether they think the topic can help them or not. In my state of Delaware, which was a very, at least a purple, it was a red state when I started, in terms of where you now talk red and blue. I don't recall most of the Democratic presidents winning my state when I was a candidate. The truth of the matter is,
Whoops, okay.
I think you'd all acknowledge, and you're all experts. I'm not being solicitous about the president. You're experts on this stuff. How accurate does anybody think the polls are these days? I can give you a series of polls where you have likely voters, me versus Trump, where I win all the time. When the unlikely voters vote, he wins sometimes. So bottom line is all the polling data right now, which I think is premature because the campaign really hasn't even started. I mean, it hasn't started in earnest yet. Most of the time, it doesn't start till after September, after Labor Day. So a lot can happen. But I think I'm the best I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump too. But it's awful start from scratch. And, you know, we talk about, you know, money raised. We're not doing bad. We got about $220 million in the bank. We're doing well. So with that, you have any want to follow up on any of that you just asked me?
Yes. You earlier explained confidence in your vice president.
Yes.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
Good question.
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
Mr. President,
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, boy. Why are you standing
this
there?
Concludes.
Respectfully, earlier you misspoke in your opening answer. You referred to Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
This concludes tonight's press conference. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, there you have it. We just heard from President Joe Biden.
Okay, that's it. That was his statement to the American people and to the Democrats out there who thinks he needs to go. He feels like everything went fine. That was probably one of the most boring press conferences I've ever seen. It was supposed to be unscripted. He was supposed to take questions from people. I didn't know it was going to be a NATO fest. I didn't know it was going to be talking about Ukraine. I thought it was going to be talking about him and America. And he went on and on and on and on and on. And then he did his funny whisper. All right, the Batman voice, as you guys call it, absolutely. So you guys tell me. You tell me, does that... I mean, I know most of the people here are going to be, you know, Trump fans, so it's going to be a little bit different. But do you think that's going to stop the push to have him removed? I don't think so. I don't think he cleared any bar whatsoever. Like I said, the teleprompters were there. He knew who he was calling. He didn't have to pick people out and understand. They gave him a bunch of softball stuff. I don't think it changes things. I don't think it changes things whatsoever. He wants our guns. That ain't happening. Like I know when he said one thing, it was guns, girls not guns, or something like made no sense whatsoever. No, it didn't make Robbie. Well, your things are going so fast. Or somebody said it didn't make any damn sense. Didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Marcus, you're right. I don't understand why they can't stop him from doing that. You know, that crazy whisper when he leans into the microphone and talks like the guy from Poltergeist. I don't get it. It makes him look creepy and insane, but he keeps doing it. Felicia, let me see if I can get your comment up here, because there's so many. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. He is a serious threat to the United States right now. I agree. He is a threat. I don't know why that didn't come through. That's what he said. Okay, let me see if I can get this up. There's so many comments. Okay, hit the button. And control guns, not girls. That's catchy. Doesn't make any sense. And his new grandson Zelensky, who he wants to just keep giving more and more money to. It just, to me, watching that along with you guys, I was trying to be as unbiased as possible, give him the benefit of a doubt, let him step out there and talk to the American people, and it didn't clear the bar. It didn't do anything different. Now, I know some of the media and maybe some Democrats will also come back and try to bolster him up. But if they actually fact check some of the stuff, you can't. Never mind, let me stop. You can't fact check what he said because he didn't know what he was saying. A number of times he said, and I wrote the notes down, a number of times he said, don't quote me on this. Because he knew he was basically BSing. Don't quote me on the number. Okay, so you're basically telling, if you can't quote the number, don't make up the stat. Don't say it. And then I don't understand, and a couple of you guys, basically pulled up on it. What was this? Blah, 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 blah. Well, anyways, and start talking about something else. You didn't even finish your sentence. You were talking about something, you had a train of thought, and then you would just say, well, anyways. What the hell's that mean? He should just step down and let. I hope this works. Hold on, let me just say that. Does it come up? Yeah, he should step down and let Vice President Trump take over. I love that guy from Scripps. It was Scripps? No, it was AP or whatever. Who said, "Hey, right now on True Social, Trump is." Let me see if I can pull it up. What did Mr. Trump have to say about? Hold on. Did he jump all over it? True Social. Let me bring up Donald. All right, so we're gonna let's go ahead and look at what he had to say. So I'm pulling up True Social right now. This is what Donald Trump had been saying. Let's go back 30. He's got a couple of videos. He's talking about new sneakers, but this is the one he goes, "I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, my. Crooked Joe has a case of Trump derangement syndrome." He knows. He knows. Everybody knows it's a joke at this point. Unless I'm being overly critical, this didn't change anything. They're going to continue to talk about getting him out, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to stop that talk. I think that talk is gonna continue. Carla Marie says, let me see, I have to wait for it to load. That's what the problem is, because there's so many comments. Yeah, I'm so done with this. I think that's where a lot of America is right now. We're done with it. And you're not giving us anything to look forward to. Not that I'd vote for you anyway, but in talking to somebody about it and debating them, like, you're not giving us anything. You talked about NATO and China and all this stuff. What are you going to do about Americans? He's never wrong in his eyes, and he does so much all the time. I'd like to know what the heck he does. Yeah, I mean, he was talking about his schedule. That didn't make any sense. And I found out, and I took a note on it, what I found interesting about his schedule when he was talking about it, and somebody brought it up, you're going to be able to be president with, your limited schedule. And he went, what are you talking about? That to me tells me that his staff said this stuff in terms of covering for him. How many things doesn't he know about? How many things are they doing without him even being involved in the decision? And so then afterwards, they have to remember, did we tell Joe this? Did we not tell him? Oh my God, I don't remember if we gave him that information. And then his answer didn't make any sense. Well, I get up at 6 o'clock, now I get up at 8 o'clock, and instead of having an 8 o'clock meeting or dinner, we go at 10. What? What? That didn't clear that up at all. It just made it worse. Cheryl Knight says, over and done, nothing about America. And did you catch that one thing? I being involved in real estate, and those of you who may be agents or whatever, did you hear him say that he was going to cap rent at 5% per year? Basically, he said that he wants to put a rent control on the country. Now, I've been in real estate for decades. My wife is a real estate agent. I'm a real estate investor. A lot of what we've done has been based upon the purchase and resale of real estate. We have had some rental properties as well, and you're telling me you are going to stop capitalism and artificially destroy market rate rent. They did that in New York. They have rent control. He wants to do that across the country. Good point here, Teresa. Teresa says, what about did it come through? Yeah, what was that button comment? I don't know. I don't know what he was talking about. I think some people are going to have to ask that question tomorrow. What was the button? Pat Zambo says, that went over like a lead balloon, a lead Zeppelin, to say the least. Yep. And Frank Schwartzwelder said, another Biden train wreck. Hey, Beverly, how are you? Beverly says, Barry, he knows nothing about anything that occurred from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Yep, exactly. Hold on one second. Got to make sure I don't sneeze here. Get better. Well, this is crazy, guys. There's a liberal channel. Yep, I've heard the guys of Midas Touch. Let me see if I can put it up so I can read this. There's a liberal channel, Midas Touch, and all the comments praise Joe and bash the MSM now for calling his blunders. They really are that blind. Jesus help. So understand if that's too small, you guys have to understand what he's saying. He's talking about how they're all praising him. The idea that they call Trump supporters cult members, when I've heard so many people, so many people say they would vote for Biden if he was in a coma. They would vote for Biden if he was brain dead. If he had a pulse, they would vote for him. And now you got guys like guys who are on the Midas Touch saying he did a fantastic job. Their entire spiel at this point is to brainwash everybody into thinking this guy is okay. They're not listening with their ears. They're not watching with their eyes. They're not even living the life that they should be living. They know it's problematic. They know that every day they go to the gas pump. Every day they go to grocery stores. They are ignoring it for the sake of the party. To me, that's just evil. Absolutely evil. Why was he screaming? He always screams. Obviously, Tina, you haven't had a relative or friend that has had dementia. That's one of the signals. That's one of the things that is a symptom of people who have that disease. They just start screaming and getting angry, and then they whisper and do stupid stuff like that. Why don't they just come right out and ask if Biden has Parkinson's disease? Well, here's what he said today, which is completely different than what Karine Jean-Pierre said. He said, anybody can see my records. It's right there. I am so transparent. Really? Really? Okay, then let's see your records. He also said nobody has asked him to take a test. Well, people have been asking every single day, won't you take a test? Well, doctors haven't told me. How about getting an independent third party to look at it? We can all see it. And these doctors, the one doctor is in business with him, gave him $200,000. This is all the stuff that the Democrats just ignore. They don't want to see it. Somebody wrote it, and yes, somebody just wrote that this whole thing was scripted. It absolutely was. It was right down to, I mean, he's looking at the person to call, and one of the things I wrote down on my notepad right here, I said microphone, and that was to prompt me. And what I mean by microphone is, you saw how big that room was. So in between a question, somebody ran over to where that next question was going to be and made sure that person had a microphone in front of their faces. So every single question was indeed scripted. They knew who they were going to call on. If they knew who they were going to call on, then they knew what was going to be in the question. There's no excuse for what they did. It's obvious. I can't wait to see how some of these Democrats take a look at this stuff. They just gave Trump a ton of fresh stuff. I think that Peter Doocy was banned from this. Yeah, I didn't see him at all. I think he was there at the beginning. And this is a good one. He says that nobody has asked him to take a test. Whitmer asked him to take a test. So absolutely. Well, what's this one here? The polls should be through the roof tomorrow. Yes, that is true. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry it went later than it was supposed to, or started later than it was supposed to, but thank you for tuning in. Don't forget the rally in Pennsylvania. Love for you to come back and check that out. Let you know I'm going to be giving another trip to Miami away, actually it's Fort Lauderdale, at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. So make sure you get in, make sure you're here, log in, get some comments. Great having you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I know you have a lot of opportunity to go elsewhere, and I'm happy that you come here, and I'm thankful. And those of you who contributed, thank you very much. There were tens of 14,000 comments. I couldn't possibly see them all at the same time. But thank you very, very much for tuning in tonight. And I'll see you at the rally or one of the videos in between it. Talk to you soon.